Okay, well, thank you for the floor. I will try to keep it within the 8 minutes. So I will skip the part where Rotterdam is, because I think 200 million people saw where it is last weekend. I will immediately start to explain a little bit about what I prepared as a best practice. This presentation is about the digitale balie, which is Dutch and can be translated as a digital service desk. I have to say that in English, it sounds a little bit like a digital portal, which it is not. So I will try to explain. I only have a few images of what we prepared to look at. So before I explain the content of my presentation, I would suggest that maybe it's a good idea to organize, well, I'm prepared to organize a demonstration at some point, end of June or something, to show what it's actually about. I think that gives a much better image of what it is that we are doing and why it is a best practice and different from a lot of other things that are developed in this field. What you see here is basically the telephones with the grumpy man. That is basically what you can consider to be the citizen side of the digital desk. It's a video calling application. To the right, that is the screen with the same grumpy man, which can be which represents the employee side of this application. The idea is that basically this started in March last year, was triggered by COVID pandemic, but now a year later, it's widely considered to be a development that will remain, will keep its relevance in the future. We're currently awaiting also jury evaluation of the final of a national competition for innovative projects. So we're very excited about where this led to. I will try to do this presentation within the context of user-centricity. And I think the fact alone that we got where we are now is thanks to the fact that we had all this feedback from citizens, and we were able to also implement all the feedback that we got. Had we not been able to do that, or have we not been able to listen so carefully, we would still be in the stage of just having video conferences with citizens, where we would have this eye contact. That was the first goal in March last year when we saw the first lockdowns. And we were afraid that we would not be as well able to make eye contact with citizens at our desks. So that led to the development of video conferencing with citizens. But because of the feedback that we got from employees, colleagues of us, and citizens, that made us increase the development towards this digital desk, in which you don't have only the eye contact with the citizen, but you're also able to actually deliver services within the video conference that you're having, which means that we can, during a video call, we can ask for valid identification, authentication through digital means that we have in the Netherlands. We can share documents in a safe way. We can show documents in a safe way, and we're currently building a cash register which makes online payment during the video call possible. So this is a short layout of what we built. Okay, so if you want to know more about that, I will organize a demonstration. I have, I think, 4 minutes left, so I will go through this very quickly. Short about the process. I started in March last year. I got an email on a Sunday, management asking me, can you look at video calling with citizens in a highly accessible way, easy. We don't want to ask citizens to install applications or software, and we don't want them to that an account is required, and of course it needs to be safe and privacy GDPR proof, etc. So within a couple of days, we bought this off-the-shelf application that is developed in the Netherlands, used in the medical sector here and there in small clinics. And they were prepared to help us to see what it can do for a local government. And bear in mind that this was really the context was that it was very urgent. We really were not able anymore to even to process the application of newborn childs, for instance, people who were in hospital. So this was a very urgent development, and we did this in the early weeks of the lockdown that started in the Netherlands. We started to give out these accounts to colleagues who were not afraid to use it, and we actually used it in practice within the first 2-3 weeks. First, we practiced with, for instance, my mother, who was elderly, and I wanted to check if she was able to do it. Other people who were not digitally skilled, and then we said, okay, let's just try it, and apologize in the start of the first conversation with the citizens, apologize that we don't know what we're doing, but we're just trying what works. And this first feedback made us make the first developments in the first weeks. And yeah, obviously this is not rocket science. We started working in this agile way, in which we processed every feedback within sometimes 2 or 3 days. So every week we basically updated the first off-the-shelf version. And then after a few weeks, we saw that identification is legally necessary to deliver services. So that basically started to trigger the first development team that I got. So that was 2 developers and some other people. Same people are still working with me now in this stage. And we built the first prototype of an identification app that we could use as employees, and we could copy paste a link to the identification application in the Netherlands, and that seemed to work. But then we said, okay, so we have this prototype, but then how cool would it be if you could all integrate that and actually try to look at the physical wooden desk that we normally use and digitalize every element that we have on that. So that's a cash, a machine, and the computer, and the copy, and the scanner, and so on, and also the surface of the table where we share documents. So that's where the idea started to make a digital desk. Now I have to cut it short. Normally I take half an hour at least for this part of the story, but now we have this digital desk, video conference integrated with all these facilities that we usually have on a wooden desk. We also use that paradigm, if you want, for every dilemma that we face during the development. Of course, there's a lot of dilemmas regarding accessibility, for instance, but also safety and security and so on. And every time we go back and say, okay, how would we address this issue when we had the same issue at a wooden desk? Okay, so accessibility. We found out that this application is highly accessible due to the fact that it is simple. People just use one link to every action that we are asking from them. We guess that about 60–80% of our population, depending on what process we are looking at, some are more used by vulnerable people, but can be used, can use this application. Another principle is the employee leads the citizen, so we don't bother the citizen with a lot of buttons and choices and menus and sort all those kind of things. They see a button with the only action that we ask, that we need from them at that moment, so to reduce any confusion. And then point 5 is obvious: test, 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 and don't assume that's something that we do every day now. And we work in short cycles of a couple of days or 2 weeks at the most. The administrative burden, we've said some things about that today. It's very hard to measure. We have some assumptions, though. We can see that there's a higher first-time right. Obviously, we have less paper to process because we get everything in digitally. What I personally expect in the future is that using this kind of interaction with citizens can change the way that we organize processes. So, for instance, if you apply for a marriage, you first have to process all the documents, then you have a conversation, and you process more documents, etc. We had that all in one session. Now you can have the conversation, the interaction with the citizen at one point, and you can decentralize, if you want, the other parts of the process. So that will change a lot. If it reduces administrative burden, it is really something I cannot prove, but I think it might. Digital delivery, well, I already told you it's basically a hybrid service. So you have this eye contact through video conferencing. Also, when I get people that say my target group is not able to interact digitally, I say, well, first try it, and then if it's not possible, no problem. Then go to them or ask them to come to us. My assumption for the future is, my hope for the future is that we can increase the level of digital processing, so the amount of physical services will be reduced in a way that we can improve the quality of those services and maybe even change it. So, for instance, where people come to us now for a lot of things, we, because of the lower volumes, are maybe more able to visit people at their work or their home to deliver services. So I think this is the innovation that might be ahead of us. I have this quote from a citizen. I think if you cut me off really soon, I don't want you to miss that. We already heard from citizens that actually said, this interaction through this digital desk was received by me as more personal than the interaction I had usually at your desk. So this is very motivating for me, because I think when you make something digital and it is received as more personal than the physical, the actual interaction, then I think something special is happening. This is something I tell everywhere, that really makes it very special to me. Citizen engagements, yeah, there's a lot. I mean, we have between 5,000 and 9,000 calls, depending on how you count, until now, maybe 10,000. So we have a lot of interaction with citizens. We do surveys, and point 3, you see the system usability scores that we have. That's around 88 for this application, which is for local government application, really, really high standard of usability. So yeah, we're happy with this, but we're continuing to develop. Okay, so here you see it in a dashboard style, the scores that I'm very proud of. Incentive, we've been talking about that. Of course, we don't pay citizens for using this, but what we want is, and I think that's also a user-centric principle, they have the choice. So if they see that they don't have to come to us to get some kind of service, then that's a huge incentive if you can do this from your own sofa. I keep telling my colleagues, you know, don't think that our service centers are like a nice boutique. You know, people don't go there for fun. It's also not a bar, it's not a terrace. So they come there because they need something from us. And if you can do it in a better way, then that's the incentive. It's my personal view, it's not an official statement from the city of Rotterdam. So, and point 3, almost as fun as Netflix. Well, that's of course not really true, but it's about as cool as Netflix is. And I watched almost every series on Netflix now, so it's also about as boring as Netflix probably to get local services now through the digital desk. But yeah, this is really in a nutshell. I tried to keep it short.